Hey, what's up, everybody? We got Fairy Tale Manga Volume 29 ready to go, and we pick up in the battle with Gray versus Ultir. So Gray immediately punches Ultir to the ground. Her little friend Mavni grabs Zareth and like takes off. So Gray summons Juvia from being knocked out, and of course she loves Gray so much she's gonna chase over after the girl, even though Juvia, she broke her own leg. So she crawls after her like a crazy zombie monster. Then we get like ice make magic versus time distillation magic or whatever she fucking calls herself. And so we also see Ultir talking about her magic specifically is to fight her mother because she hates her mother so much. And then Gray remembers as a kid how much loved Ultir, and he's like kind of confused. She talks about hating her mother, and they go back and forth and fight. And she's definitely got the advantage because every time he makes something, she like undoes it and turns it back into water. So then what he does is he creates like an ice sword onto his hand and then covers it with his own blood, which is badass as hell. And then he goes to strike her, and she goes to like reverse time, but her magic can't affect like biological material. So because he's got like red ice, he's able to beat the shit out of her with a ice blade 7-slice dance. And so then she recalls like being sad and stuff and crying, and then she's like, I'm gonna upgrade and like not lose. So then she starts using ice maker magic. We then get a nice overview of like everybody and what they're doing, how like Goddard is like passed the fuck out. Well, he's not passed out, but he's like, oh, I'm getting old. And Urza and Natsu and everybody. Meanwhile, the battle continues. Ultir creates this beautiful kind of like Briar Rose style, like rose garden ice thing, and starts hitting Gray, and then Gray like tumbles into her, and they both like tumble off a cliff back out into the water. And then Ultir thinks about how she was abandoned by her mother. These people performed like scientific experiments on her. She was like broken as like a small child, and then she remembers like escaping and returning back to her mother's place, and seeing Gray. Seeing her mother with Gray and what's his name? And how she was like so sad because she was abandoned, so she went back because she wanted to become more and more powerful, and eventually she like burst free of like she became so powerful with her magic that she burst free of like the location. And then she was approached at some point while studying in a library as like a little kid by Hades, who wanted to teach her time arc magic, which is one of these like forbidden magics it's all about. Then we back to the present. Ultir and Gray fall into the water, and they're using ice maker magic inside the water against each other. And then Ultir starts hearing like a voice, and then if you have forgotten, there was the whole thing where used like the final ice magic to freeze herself and to turn herself into ice to freeze that demon, and then it was like undone by the moon magic. And so then she went into the ocean as like the water, and so apparently that now that she's a part of the ocean, that Ultir is in here, she can hear her mother's thoughts, which is fucking awesome. And so she finds out that like the reason she ended up in the institution where she was doing scientific research on was because she was born with so much magical power that it was killing her. And so like she was constantly sick, and like so her mother took her to like this research center to like get her cured, not to have experiments done on her. And then they lied to Ultir. I'm sorry, they lied to that her daughter had died, that Ultir had died, or Ultir, however you want to pronounce the R or the L in Japanese. And so that kind of gives her like a new perspective that like she knows all this stuff, and she realizes that her mother didn't abandon her and that it was all like a mistake. And then Gray like finishes her off with like this ice spear maker magic. And then he recalls to Ultir that like always talked about how much she loved her daughter and how much she missed her, and like how it was the most important thing that ever happened to her in her life. And then Ultir starts crying and stuff, and then they both end up on the ground. And Ultir's pretty beat up, but Gray's like, I'm gonna go beat Hades, you rest up. And then she's like, you can't beat Hades alone. He's like, I'm not alone. And then we get shots of Urza and Natsu, which is badass as hell. Meanwhile, back at like the camp, we have Lucy and everybody else, Freed and Natsu and Happy and everybody. And it's raining like crazy, and there's lightning and everything, and they're like talking about what they're gonna do. So Natsu's like, I'm going to go fight Hades, and he's going to take Lucy, and then Wendy volunteers to go, and it's like, well, what about the guys who are actually more impressive, like Bickoff and Freed, and like they're going to stay here and protect everybody, along with Lysiana and I always forget her name. What the fuck's her name? The writing chick. Anyway. So meanwhile, Juvia is still chasing after Marudi when Crow shows up. Who's Zancrow? Crow got his ass handed to him earlier. He's one of the Hades guys that was already beaten, but I guess not really. And so he blasts the shit out of Juvia and Zareth and Marudi and talks about how like he's going to take Zareth and yada, yada, yada. And how Urtir's like a betrayer, and then he's like, oh, did you not realize? And Marudi's like, no, we're gonna take Zareth, and then Urtir's gonna like restore my village and like bring everybody back. And he's like, Urtir's the one who destroyed your village in the first place, you dumb bitch. And Marudi's like super sad about that. And then Zancrow's holding Zareth, and Zareth's like, I had enough of this shit. And the guy's like, what? And then he just blasts the shit out of Zancrow, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. But apparently absorbed all like the darkness or something. And he's like, oh good, those two survived. And he's like, I don't intend to do anything in this age. I shall be no one's ally. And hopefully before the next age begins, Natsu can come like destroy me. Otherwise I might have to act. And then he says something about acnologia. And then Mest is, or whatever his real name is like watching, and he's like, acnologia. Oh shit. And so he heads back to like the council guy on the ship. Meanwhile, Gray's like stumbling through the forest and almost passes out when Urza catches him. And at that point, Natsu and Lucy and Wendy find them. So like the team's back together. Yay! So they all get to the ship, and Hades is standing there by himself talking about how he's impressed. They defeated all his like minions, and this new the third generation of Fairy Tail is somewhat impressive. And he's like, come, children of Makarov. And he goes back in the ship. So Gray makes a like ice ladder up to there, and they head up there, and Urza's like, we're gonna hit this guy with like the best attacks we got all at once. Like there's no reason to like hold back or see what's going on. We just gotta go. And so they all get in there, and they just like blast him with everything. We get like bam, 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 and like Lucy summons Taurus, and Wendy's like power charging everybody, and Gray and Urza are hitting with swords and ice swords, and Natsu's using like fire magic, and bam, 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 and then they like do their Lucy and Wendy do like a combo move, which is a unison raid. That's right, that's what they call it, which is like a super awesome move with Natsu. So the three of them combine to make unison raid. And he's like, a unison raid, what? And then they hit him at the same time, and bam! And then he just like is totally fine. And they're like, fuck. Like his clothes are kind of torn up, and he's lost his like sweet ass cape and his like fucking hood or whatever. And then he just like does something to Wendy, and she disappears completely. And everyone's like, fuck. But that's okay. It's actually, Wendy didn't get blasted. She got absorbed. And so we find out that the clock thing that Lucy can summon has like an automatic emergency action mode, but he can only use it like once. And then Lucy's remembering all the time she was like almost eaten by a monster, and she was almost raped by that big ugly guy earlier, and like other times. And she's like, this has never come up before. Fuck you. Anyway, so but Wendy has no clothes, but she has like, now she gets like her new outfit, which is badass as hell. It's like this total black thing with like cute stockings, and like it's almost like a schoolgirl mixed with like a karate gi kind of situation. It's pretty badass. Anyway, so now it's time to keep fighting. Everyone's ready to go. So they start trying to fight some more, and Hayes just beats the like shit out of them, ties up Lucy and Urza, knocks Wendy, Natsu down, Gray, and they're all like beat the hell up. And then meanwhile, the cats who came along with them but are like searching around the ship to find a way to like destroy the ship or something. So that's Carla, Happy, and Panther Lily. They're looking around, and then Panther Lily's like, oh, I'm scared of lightning, but they're searching around. Meanwhile, back over at the council ship, Mest is telling the other guy acnologia, and he's like, wait, he actually said that? And he's like, if that's the case, we have to leave right now. So they all like take the fuck out of there. Like, uh-oh, we gotta go. And so they go. Then we head back over to Hades and the Fairy Tail, and they're all knocked the fuck out. And then Hades is like, weak. And they talk about the guild, and Hades reveals that he was the second leader of the guild, and then he passed it off to Makarov. Makarov's fucked it up by making it like too much fun and not enough like hardcore magic or whatever. And then he starts kicking Natsu around and blasting him and shit. And then all of a sudden, like a lightning blast hits inside the ship, and everyone's like freaking out because the whole ship is like filled with lightning. And it's Laxus. Laxus finally showed back up, and he's like, and then he just fucking like headbutts Hades, knocking it the fuck back. And he's like, what the fuck? And everyone's like, Laxus is here, yay! And then he says something about not being part of Fairy Tail, but he's going to protect, like he's going to get revenge for his grandfather, right? And then, you know, him and Hades obviously go back and forth because it's shown an enemy battle, and then we get a shot of Lucy's like tits as she's laying down. Awesome. And then he just starts fighting him and Hades are going back and forth, and like Laxus is like clearly like up to almost up to stuff to fight him one on one, and they're just like bam, 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 fight, 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 fight. And then at the last second, Laxus, he does some big ass, like he's teleporting around, like back, he kicks the guy in the back of the head and knocks him back and is getting him real good. And then Laxus starts running out of magic. And then Hades does some like super attack on him, and at the last second, Laxus does something, and Natsu's like, "What's that?" And then Laxus gets blasted the fuck out, and he doesn't die, obviously, but he gets knocked out. And then we see Natsu's like all charged up and stuff, and we get another fan service of Lucy. But what happened was Laxus transferred all his power into a form in which Natsu could eat it as a dragon slayer, and so now he's got lightning and fire magic, and he's all charged the fuck up again. And then Urza remembers the time when he absorbed, what was it? There was some other kind of like the poison fire or whatever that he ate up real good, because Natsu clearly has like more powers than people like give him credit for. And it's like, holy shit, he ate lightning? Oh, Etherian, that's what it was, the Etherian energy. And so now he's doing like Ryu, which is like lightning fire attack, and then we get some badass shots of him just like beating the shit out of Hades and like going to town. And then he's remembering all the people that got injured, like Agil and like Makarov and Elfman and stuff, and Arcana, and he's like blast, 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 and him and Hades go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They're like blowing shit up. We see Godard, he's like smiling when he sees like there's a blast that goes like all the way through the whole island kind of situation. Everyone's like, holy shit, because it shook everything. And then Hades looks like beat the shit out of him, and then Natsu's like burnt out, and so he's about to fall like off the ship that he's blasted all these holes into, and Lucy like reaches out and grabs him and pulls him back up. And then we head back over to Happy, Carla, and Panther Lily, and they get to like the engine room, and it's like this crazy looking thing, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And then everyone's like, before they're starting to like stand up and be okay, but then Hades like stands back up, and he's like, ha 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 ha, and then he takes off his fucking eye patch, and he's like, devil eye open, and then he transforms into like this badass like shadow monster guy. He starts saying some real cryptic like dark shit. And then Natsu's like, I don't have strength to move, we're fucked. And then we head back over to the cats, and Panther Lily, all these like crew members of Hades' ship are like, they see the cats, and then Happy's like, oh shit, we're fucked. But then Panther Lily is like, I got this. You guys go take care of this engine and figure out what's going on with that. And so then he transforms into his big self and like steals his sword, and the sword like morphs into like a Buster sword. Like it's literally called Buster Marm. And he's like, oh yeah, bitches. So he starts fighting them. Back with Hades and our fairy tale crew. He's talking about Hades is talking about the one magic, and he's talking about Zareth, and then he talks about like he's using like hidden magic from like the book of Zareth, 4th chapter, 12th verse, and all that stuff. And then all these like shadow monsters appear, and everyone's like filled with terror and fear. And Lucy's like holding Natsu, because they eventually get together, of course. But she's like holding him very tightly and everything. And then he's like remembering when Goddard told him like fear is not an evil, it's about knowing your own weaknesses. And and then Natsu like stands up and inspires everybody, because friendship is magic, that fear is there to help them know their weaknesses and to get stronger. And so he gives like an impassioned speech, and he talks about how like because friendship is magic, they're gonna win. Like literally, it's fucking awesome. And so then they all start racing towards Hades and fighting like the shadow monsters, and they're not doing super great. But then Natsu's about to fall, and we get this badass sequence where Wendy and Lucy grab his arms as he's falling and like chuck him. And then he flies like up to Urza and Gray, who then like kick him, and he like they kick his feet while he like jumps off them, and he does this like there's like all this crazy shit going on, and he just like dives right into Hades, like, and it blows up like half the fucking ship, and it's just like all these explosions, and everyone's like and Natsu's scarf's like flying in the air, and then we see Natsu like fucking jab this motherfucker right in the jaw, and his like, teeth are coming out. It's everything. And then Lucy's like, oh, the scarf, and so she jumps to grab it. And then Natsu just starts pummeling this guy. And then he's like, how is this possible? This can't be possible. And then we see the cats have destroyed Grimoire Heart, which I guess was a literal dark heart, which was the generator for this ship and also generator for like all the magic that was produced. And so then they destroy the engine. And so Hades loses like a lot of his powers, and then we see like a lot of his minions, like the glasses guy and all the people who like work for him, and they're like, "Oh no, it's like the secret power behind the great magic of the Master Hades is the ship and the heart, the Grimoire heart." And so now Natsu's just beating the shit out of him, and then all of a sudden they look out across the ship because there's huge holes in it, and they see the Sirius tree, which is the big tree for the whole island that gives fairy tale people their powers, is like back to being normal again. And then we see Urter is like reverse time to put it back and be reborn. And so now everyone's like got their magic charge back up. And then we get a little shot of Marudi looking at Urter and being like super sad and angry. Anyway, so that now that Fairy Tail's got like their magic back, it's like this fucking dude's like tapped. So Hades does come back and knock Natsu back, but then Laxus is back up, and then the rest of the crew is, we have like the whole team is like, hell yeah, fuck you. So like Lucy summons Capricorn, who beats the shit out of him. Wendy's doing stuff like wind attacks. Great as ice maker magic. Like everybody's getting involved. We get like fan service of Urza before she turns and does her like pentagram sword attack, and then Natsu does like another Dragon Slayer secret attack and this huge fire fucking blast. It just blasts the shit out of Hades, knocking him out for good. And then everyone's cheering and looking happy and celebrating. And yeah. And they're like, "This is our guild." It's fucking hype, man. I love this manga so much. Anyway, that's the end of the volume. It's fucking awesome. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later.